Welcome. Good morning. My name is David Jackaway, and my pronouns are he, him. I am a member of your UUI transition team. If you are here for the first time, thank you for joining us. We look forward to getting to know you. We invite everyone present in the sanctuary today to join our in-person coffee hour immediately following the service. During our service, there is a time for sharing the joys and sorrows of our lives with one another. Cards for sharing your joy or sorrow are on the table by the entrance to the sanctuary. We ask that you pick them up and fill them out prior to that section of our service. Acceptance is one of our core values. This means that as we strive to be a welcoming community for spiritual growth, moral reflection, social action, and religious education, we work to welcome and honor the inherent worth and dignity of all in our diverse community. We are so glad that you are with us today. We hope you find the service inspiring and meaningful.
Good morning. I'm Kathy DeWeese, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm honored to serve our congregation today as a worship associate. A lit chalice is a symbol of our tradition, serving as a beacon of hope. And our own leprechaun, Patrick, is going to light the chalice for us today. As we light our chalice in the sanctuary, I invite those on Zoom to light a chalice or a candle, or to type your location in the chat. Our chalice lighting and opening words today are adapted from Sarah C. Stewart. Bring who you are as you enter our church this morning. Bring your best self and your struggling self. Bring your mistakes and your triumphs. Bring your shortcomings and your recommitment to good. Bring yourself here and open your heart to beauty, to truth, to the door that is open to the presence of good. Here in this church, we are trying to walk together in the peaceable way, trying to hammer out division and hatred and all that separates one from another. We try and we will fall short. but held in love, we will try again. We come together this morning as a church to bow our heads in prayer, to raise our voices in song, to remember our promises and vow to live by them once again. May it be so.
Please rise in body or in spirit as we join together in singing hymn number 1023, Building Bridges. Sylvia will play once through on piano. We'll all sing together once through, and then we'll break into halves for the rounds.
Would you please now join me in saying our covenant, which is in the screen and in your bulletin? Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. And now let us say our covenant in Spanish. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad, el amor, y ayudarnos unos a otros. Este es nuestro pacto. Please be seated. Our congregation is a lively community with many opportunities to participate. Here are a few announcements for today, but please check your order of service for more. Number one, the nursery is short-staffed today because of illness. If you are your background checked person and you can help today, if you would please see Sarah, we would appreciate that. And this one? The Adult Council is sponsoring a vernal equinox gong meditation this Friday at 7:30 p.m. Led by meditation leader Diane Hancock, this event is for all abilities. See your e-blast and bulletin for details. And the third one is the Fine Arts Committee has two announcements this morning. First, the art on the sanctuary walls, take a look around, was created by the youth of this congregation. We would like to recognize these artists, so would you please stand or wave as you can so that we can see and recognize who are the artists? Yay! And on Saturday, March 29th at 10 a.m., the Fine Arts Committee, in conjunction with the Green Team, will install an all-church intergenerational art show with the theme of Our Earth and Protecting Our Environment. Please search your home for artwork that you may have created with the theme in mind. Send labeled information with the title and medium used to Wendy Dougherty by this Wednesday. So you have kind of a short notice. This Wednesday, March 19th. Thank you.
Part of being in community is with one another is sharing the joys and sorrows of our lives together. As the music plays in just a moment, I invite people in the sanctuary to come forward and drop a stone in the bowl if you have a joy or a sorrow on your hearts or in your minds. And if you've written your joy or sorrow in a card, please leave it in the basket on the table and I will read it out loud. The cards are by the entrance to the sanctuary for easy pickup when you come in. And for those of you who are on Zoom, we invite you to use the chat feature. Please put in all caps your name, joy or sorrow, plus your name and pronouns at the beginning of what you are sharing if you would like me to read it out loud in the sanctuary. You can also symbolically drop a stone into the bowl by typing drop stone or just DS into the chat. Let us share the joys and sorrows of our lives together. These are the joys and sorrows shared today. Briar shares the sorrow that they said goodbye to their beloved animal companion, Kaya, on Thursday, and Briar is devastated. Kaya was so much more than just a dog. Gary shares the sorrow and sends healing thoughts to Donna Marsh, who broke her arm. Jamie Rogers shares the sorrow, the passing of a dear lifelong friend. Please join Jamie in wishing her well on her journey. William shares the joy that he is going to go to dinner with Nina and Bapu and hopes that they have fun. Me too. And Kathleen shares the joy that the friend who introduced her to Unitarian Universalism is here to witness her new membership, and he surprised her for her birthday today. We know there are many other joys and sorrows that may be on our minds and in our hearts today. Let us pause now for a moment of prayer and meditation. Spirit of all that moves among us and through us, help us to let love lead the way. Help us recognize that polarization can sometimes be understood as passion to build something better that centers and that holds all of us at the center. Help us to imagine and to foster a world in which we listen more than we talk, where our priority is to learn as much as we teach. A world in which we find ways to connect across the chasms of difference, making space for revelation and transformation to emerge. Spirit of love, help us turn toward love with the world, with each other, with ourselves. Let us extend grace within our movements and between our movements, less sure, more curious, wondering together what is possible. Spirit of all that is open and hopeful, guide us in building bridges between one another, uniting our voices in harmony. Lead us to the love that holds us all and is with us always, the love that can help us through the messy and necessary life-altering work of building movements across beliefs, across difference, for change that can endure. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
That was so beautiful. One of the kids asked me once why we sing that song so much, and I said, it's so that we will know it in our bones. And I looked around this morning and I saw so many kids singing along, and I guess you do know it in your bones. So this is a special time when people of any age who like to come up front and sit and hear a story are welcome to join me. Hi, Patrick. Thanks for hanging out. And look at these cool mailbox ministries that Katrina made for us today. Aren't these, I mean, on a cloudy gray day like this, this is the energy I need. So I'm gonna enjoy mine very much. But I wanna tell you guys a story about something that happened at a UU church, kind of like this one. There were 3 kids who were really good friends, I know some of you all have friends here at church because I see you come in the door and be like, I see you, and whisper people's names and wave. And these people were those kinds of friends. And their names were Adriana and Maya and Max. And they were doing a big project in RE where they were going to show what makes a family special. And each group in their room was supposed to come up with a way to share their ideas. And the friends decided to make a video. You know what a video is? Yeah, showing different traditions. Yeah, Paw Patrol is a good example of a video. I agree with you entirely. But as they started planning, okay, something went wrong. When we work on group projects, we don't always agree. Yep, like Ryder. Ryder doesn't agree with everybody all the time, does he? He does agree with everybody all the time? That is a very unique quality. So Adriana, who was really excited about this project, said, I think we should show a family having a big dinner on Sunday. All the moms and the dads and the grandparents and the aunts and the uncles can cook, and then we can all sit down together and talk about our week. Maya frowned. Well, my grandparents live far away, so we don't really do that. Me and my dads go out for breakfast at a nice restaurant before we go to church, and I have waffles with fruit and whipped cream, like that. Well, Max looked uncomfortable. My mom says restaurants are kind of expensive, and like after church, she goes to work. So on Sunday, me and my sisters make lunch for us and my dad, and sometimes we eat in front of the TV. Well, said Adriana, I think we should do what most families do. Max looked surprised. What do you mean, what most families do? Adriana frowned at him. Most families have a meal together on Sundays. It's not our fault yours doesn't. I heard it. Ooh, yep. Gauntlet thrown down. Max's cheeks turned red and his stomach kind of started to hurt. Has that ever happened to you when you're having a disagreement with somebody? It's pretty uncomfortable. He said, I feel like you're saying that your way is the right way and mine is wrong. Adriana's eyes widened. Don't get mad at me. We're friends. It's not my fault you do things differently. Just because we're friends doesn't mean what you said is okay, said Max. I didn't say anything wrong. You're picking on me. All of a sudden it feels like you hate me. Adriana told Max, I think you're mean. And then she started to cry. Maya looked uncomfortable. She glanced around, afraid that like maybe a grown-up would come over and ask what they had done to make Adriana cry. She looked at Max and said, maybe we should just let Adriana pick this time. Max shrugged and he looked away. Whatever, he said. She made a fuss and now she gets her way. So I want to stop right there because I noticed something. I noticed that Adriana is like a little bit stuck. All Max really said was, not everybody does that. And like, we know Max is right. How many people here have breakfast together before church? Yeah, some, right? How many people grab whatever you can find before you run out the door? How many people go out to eat after church? There's a few, right? How many people go home and eat after church? How many people go to work after church? How many people are at work right now? Hi, Nick, I see you. Do you remember what the P in JetPig stands for? Pluralism. It stands for pluralism. The idea that we are all special and sacred, but we're also all different, right? We covenant to be loving and to be curious and to be respectful about those differences. I mean, if we could do that for Jelly Bellies, right? Like, has anyone here ever had Jelly Bellies? These special jelly beans that come in like a bajillion, they've come in more than 100 flavors, maybe not a bajillion. Patrick's had them, I've had them. And there's even a kind of jelly beans called Bean Boozled that are Jelly Bellies. Anybody know about those? They come in, yeah, they're like Bertie Bott's, but we don't say that anymore because J.K. Rowling has turned out to be kind of a punk. But they come in really wild flavors like earwax, right? Like, if we can be curious about earwax jelly beans, we can be curious about each other's differences, right? Like, I think we can manage it. But it's not just that Adriana is not feeling curious right now, right? She's also very worried about being wrong and about people being mad at her. And I think that's where she's really stuck. So when we feel bad, when we feel like all scrunched up and anxious, we think that everything is terrible. We think there's no way out of that problem. But that's not true. We just need to get a little bit, like stretchy. A little stretchy. Anybody here get a little bit stretchy? What do you think? You do it? Maybe go like this. Oh. Yeah, right? Roll those shoulders a little bit. Now Adriana heard what Max said about how she was making a fuss to get her way. And that was something her big brother said to her sometimes too, and she hated it. So she wiped her eyes, and she stopped crying, and she remembered that in RE, they often learned different exercises they could do to feel more calm and peaceful, like we do sometimes in Lego Values, right? And so she took a deep breath, and she stretched her arms up high, trying to relax. And then she said, I don't think we should just do my idea. And Maya and Max looked kind of surprised. She said, I like my family tradition so much that I didn't stop to be curious about what other families do. I'm sorry I made you feel like your way wasn't good enough, Max. Max nodded, but he didn't say anything. He was glad that Adriana understood, but he was still feeling a little bit sore, and that's okay. Maya said, what if we show how everyone has different family traditions in our video? Big Sunday dinners, breakfast at a restaurant, kids making lunch for the grown-ups. It's all part of what makes each family special. Adriana's face brightened. Right! Families can be different, but they're all full of love. Let's celebrate that. So they worked together, and they created a video that showed how each family has its own unique ways of showing love. And after church, Maya ate her leftover waffles, and Max made grilled cheeses with 2 kinds of cheese, and Adriana ran through the house with her cousins until everybody told them to go outside. And for the record, if you ever struggle even to shove something in your mouth in the car or on the way out the door, we do have a lunchbox on the RE shelf that you'll see it. It says hangry on the side. Hangry is the combination of hungry and angry, and that's where you go look for food if you forgot to eat that morning, all right? And now let us all go together to our RE groups.
I love that much energy on a gray day like today. So a few weeks ago, we talked about conflict and how conflict isn't something to fear. Instead, when engaged well, conflict can transform us. We explored how conflict can actually help us grow. It can clarify what matters most. It can spark creativity and change and strengthen relationships when engaged in trust and with care. We talked about UUI's history, and we reclaimed the idea that conflict is in UUI's DNA. We reclaimed it not as a weakness, but as a strength, a sign of resilience, courage, and transformation. And we named that conflict itself isn't the problem. Unhealthy conflict is. Now, if you missed all of this, that's okay. The service is on UUI's YouTube channel. It's the February 23rd service, and it's handily titled Benefits of Conflict. And that leads us to today. I love how Sarah's story reminds us that conflict doesn't always look like fighting. Sometimes it looks like feeling stuck. Like Adriana, who wasn't trying to be mean, but wasn't able to stretch beyond what she thought was normal. And sometimes conflict can look like feeling dismissed, like Max, who wasn't feeling heard. Or it can look like being caught in the middle, like Maya, who just wanted things to go smoothly. And when conflict does happen, our first reaction isn't always helpful, whether it's to shut down or lash out or make everything okay as quickly as possible. So let's talk today about what healthy conflict looks like. Because just like in the story, we can't always avoid conflict. And sometimes we shouldn't avoid conflict. But we can learn how to navigate it in a way that keeps us connected rather than pulling us apart. Because let's be honest, most of us were not taught how to engage in conflict in a way that strengthens relationships instead of breaking them. If you were taught how to engage in conflict healthy as you were growing up, raise your hand. Right, not many, right? We either learned to fight to win, or we learned to keep the peace at all costs, or we learned to shut down completely. Even when we want to engage differently, our bodies don't always cooperate. And so we tend to avoid it. Or we hold it in until we explode, or we rush to smooth things over, even if it means compromising what we really believe. But here's the thing, conflict, when we avoid it, it doesn't go away. It just pushes it underground where it festers. And when it finally does surface, and it pretty much always does, it's even bigger and more painful and more difficult to navigate. So what does it look like to engage in conflict well? Well, let's start with what it doesn't look like. Unhealthy conflict shows up when we attack the person instead of the problem, when we call names or tear each other down. It happens when we interrupt or dismiss someone before they're even finished speaking, when we're not really listening, just waiting for our turn to talk. Unhealthy conflict happens when we refuse to acknowledge harm we might have done, when we jump to defend ourselves with, "That's not what I meant," instead of asking, "How did that feel for you?" And sometimes unhealthy conflict doesn't look like conflict at all. It just looks like silence. It's what happens when we avoid hard conversations because they make us uncomfortable, when we let things fester until they explode, or when we hold on to old resentments rather than working through what's actually in front of us, or when we talk about someone rather than to someone. Because like in this story, sometimes conflict doesn't look like arguing. It may look like dismissing someone's experience, like Adriana saying, "Most families do this," without realizing how that might land for Max or anyone else. That's what unhealthy conflict does. It shuts down our curiosity, it makes assumptions, and it leaves someone feeling unheard. But healthy conflict looks different. Notice what happened when Adriana paused. She stretched, literally, and that stretch gave her the space to see things differently. She was able to be curious instead of defensive. And that's what healthy conflict looks like. Not just reacting, but making the space to listen, to reflect, to be curious, and to respond with care. It sometimes looks like pausing before we respond, noticing when we're getting defensive or anxious, when our bodies are starting to react. It can look like taking a breath or choosing how we respond rather than acting impulsively. Healthy conflict can also look like asking more questions than making statements. It can look like, instead of jumping to conclusions, we invite, "Help me to understand what you mean," or "What's important to you in this?" Because curiosity creates space for deeper understanding. Healthy conflict also looks like focusing on the impact of our words and actions rather than just our intent. Because even if we don't mean to cause harm, it still matters when harm is done. So instead of saying, "That's not what I meant," we can say, "I hear that this hurt. Let's talk about how to move forward." Healthy conflict looks like speaking from our values, not just from our emotions. Because while anger and frustration are real and valid, when we ground ourselves in why something matters, we can engage more constructively. It looks like naming what we actually need, not just naming what's wrong. Saying, "I need clarity in this decision," or "I need to feel heard," or "I need us to agree on some next steps." Because clear requests also lead to better outcomes. And healthy conflicts also looks like staying connected even when you disagree, maintaining eye contact, keeping an open stance, staying engaged instead of shutting down. And sometimes healthy conflict knows when to take a break. Not to avoid the conversation, but to keep it from escalating, so that when we do come back to it, we can engage with clarity and with care. Because conflict, when well done, is about staying in relationship while working through the hard stuff together. Of course, knowing what healthy conflict looks like is one thing, and actually practicing it, totally something different. Because let's be honest, when we're in the thick of conflict, staying open and grounded is not always easy. And this is where restorative practice tools come in. They are a way that we can move through conflict with integrity, accountability, and care. At their core, restorative practices ask us to shift from blame to understanding, from punishment to repair. Instead of asking who's at fault, who made the mistake, who messed up, restorative practices ask, what happened? Who was impacted? How were they impacted? And what needs to happen to move forward in a way that honors everyone involved? That shift matters, that shift from blame to looking at how to restore relationship. Because too often when conflict arises, we get stuck in the loop of who's right and who's wrong, and who should feel guilty and who should apologize. But restorative practices remind us that conflict isn't about keeping score, it's about restoring relationships. Does that mean that everyone will always agree? No. Does it mean that somebody might be converted to your point of view? Also, no. Does it mean that every conflict will be neatly resolved? Also, no. But it does mean we stay in the work, that we commit to understanding, to being accountable for harm, to repairing where we can, and moving forward with clarity. Like in the story, the friends found a way forward, not by deciding who was right and who was wrong, but by finding a way to hold all of their experiences as valid. That's the heart of restorative practices, not keeping score, but restoring relationships. Because conflict, when well done, isn't about winning or losing. It's about making sure we come through it stronger than we started. And that brings us to Maria's reflection. Because in our story, we saw how Adriana had a choice. She could dig in, insist she was right, or she could stretch, make space, listen, and repair the harm she had caused. And that's what healthy conflict is really about. Not just managing our reactions, but learning how to move through conflict in a way that restores relationship instead of breaking them. And Maria, thanks to modern technology, is able to be in two places today at the same time today, and is going to share a story with us about what happens when we do this work, when we step into conflict with care and curiosity, and what it takes to come out on the other side stronger together.
Hello, good morning. My name is Maria Renner, and my pronouns are she and her. And I wish that I could be with you this morning to read this reflection in person. In this moment, I am helping to co-teach a 7th to 9th grade OWL class, but I really wanted to share this reflection on this topic of engaging in healthy conflict because of how important and meaningful this topic is in all of our lives. If conflict can be healthy, then why does it feel absolutely terrifying in the moment to have those hard conversations and to speak up? Is the ability to speak up and engage in conflict more of a matter of understanding the benefits of conflict, or is it learning to be with our discomfort and nervous system responses? Do you know those moments that I'm talking about? Where you are in the exact moment of having an opposing opinion, a truth to be shared, a feeling that needs to be spoken, so hot and fiery the words are looping in your mind. Your heart rate is elevated. There's also a feeling of tension in the throat and in the chest, or a sense of anxiety. Better to not speak and those feelings will go away, right? Jason Gaddis, in his book, Getting to Zero, says, avoidance of doing the hard thing creates more conflict and keeps you stuck and discontented. One of the biggest reasons for avoiding conflict I have seen is that there's a fear of losing the relationship. When we avoid conflicts to avoid losing relationships, what we really lose is parts of ourself. Learning how to increase our capacity to be with our internal discomfort, our body reactions and sensations can help to stand in our truth and even rewire our instinctual blueprint for navigating conflict. A few years ago, when my son was younger, he got really physically hurt by a friend. When trying to comfort him and calm him, I said some really unkind things about that friend to disperse the tension. He calmed down and we talked to his friend's mom about the situation. Much to my absolute horror and embarrassment, my son told her the unkind words I had said about her son. I instinctively said, I didn't say that. Gobi repeated again what I had said, standing in his truth, that I did, in fact, say those words. In that moment, I could choose to gaslight my son and save face with a friend, or I could own that I said the unkind thing to this mom friend who would be very negatively impacted. I was terrified in the moment because I knew how hurt and upset the other mom would be and how badly that this had reflected on me in some ways. I chose to own the unkind words. So in front of my son and this mom, I admitted to saying the unkind things and apologizing profusely. Despite my apology, this mom was predictably upset and we didn't speak for weeks. Eventually, I asked if she was open to repair and we had a longer conversation where she shared the impact on her. I acknowledged her feelings and the impact my words had had, and then I went on to share what had been going on for me at that moment. We eventually repaired the friendship. Reflecting back on the situation, I'm proud of how I handled it, that I took responsibility and handled the disconnection with my friends, and I'm proud of what I modeled for my son. Going forward, I invite you to notice these moments when there is something you want to express and notice yourself holding back. What is going on inside your body? What feelings and emotions come up, and what are the fears? It's possible to retrain our nervous system and brain for healthy conflict if we have the desire, cultivate awareness, and train to do so. Thank you.
Maria's story reminds us that conflict doesn't have to mean division. It can be a bridge. But that only happens when we're willing to stay in the work, to listen, to be curious, and to repair when harm has been done. Like Adriana in our story earlier, and like so many of us when conflict arises, we have a choice. We can dig in, shut down, or walk away, or we can pause, stretch, and make room for something new, a deeper understanding, a stronger relationship, a way forward that honors everyone involved. This isn't always easy work, but it's the work of community. It's the work of faith. And if we're willing to practice it, we can move through conflict in ways that don't just resolve tension, but actually transforms us for good. If you are ready to go even deeper into what healthy conflict looks like in congregational life, I'll be dropping some links in the UUI Slack this afternoon. May we be people who lean in, who stay curious, who stretch even when it's hard. May we be a community that stays in relationship through all of it. May it be so. May we make it so together.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes a sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made from what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for. But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes a sun, like a sea that treats a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. Because I knew you, because I knew you, because I knew you, I have changed for good.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sarah Grain, and I'm up here on behalf of the amazing work that's being done for the pledge drive for UUI. There's an awesome table right outside the door, so I first want to encourage you guys to make sure you go visit them before we leave today. And I think there's going to be speakers here every Sunday kind of talking about UUI and the connection and why they pledge. And so here I am today sharing a couple of words with you. My family started coming to UUI before the pandemic. And what I've learned from talking to a lot of long-term UUI families, especially ones with children, is many people started coming to UUI for their children, and then they stayed for themselves. And I definitely am sensing that transition of like not just needing UUI for my children, but like having it be a place where even that story, I can't tell you, I had conflicts this week that I was really struggling with, and just to have a sermon that was catered to me, though they didn't know it, I'm sure we all have those experiences, but I love the breadth of discussion and understanding and the mix of this outward political view and a global perspective that UUI has. And then it can also get deeply personal and deeply individual. And everybody is able to kind of explore that within whatever their own personal spiritual journey is something I really, really appreciate about UUI. And my family is slow to warm up to things. So it took, when I first started coming, I just wanted someone to take care of my kids for a little bit so I could just empty out my mind listening to Jamie speak. And it took me a couple years to want to get involved and volunteer. I would put a little $5 in the basket when it came around. It was only this past year that my husband and I sat down and we said, every week we give to the basket at UUI. What does that really mean for what we are giving to UUI on an annual basis? And what would that mean to the church if we could tell them ahead of time that they can count on our pledge? And when we counted it up, we're like, wow, it's not nothing. It's not nothing that we're giving to this church. And could we do a little bit more? And could we tell them that we're doing that so they can plan on that and they can create budgets? And I've been on the RE Council for a couple of years, and every program here has a budget, and every committee cares deeply about making sure that they're good stewards of the resources that UUI has. And it's easier to be good stewards of those resources when we know what those resources are to begin with, right? And so it felt really good to have that discussion with Ted and just be able to say, this is what we're doing already on a weekly basis. This is what it means for us monthly. Let's put that into our personal budget, and that increased our commitment, and then it increased our desire to be involved with UUI because we want to be involved in stewarding the money, part of the money that we contributed, So there's just so many, it's a very regenerative process, because just by deciding to make a pledge to UUI, then we wanted to pledge more to the programs because we want to see those things succeed, right? Because we have our time and our money invested in that. So I think it's a really neat thing to see how it's regenerative both for ourselves and our family, and then also to see the church flourish and thrive. So I do have a couple of things, just some stats to share with you. So this year, right now in the pledge, we are at 52,260 based on online pledges with 18 pledge units. Last year at this time, we were at 28 pledges out of 193 total pledge units possible, and we'd received a total of 65,469. So the thing that strikes me with this is that last year we had made more money at this time, however, with a lot less pledged units, right? So that means that this year, the folks that have contributed and are donating more per unit, you know, and that's based on decisions like my husband and I made last year, like, what are we already doing? How can we increase that a little bit? How can we tell the church about our plans? You know, so that excites me, seeing that, you know, each of these individual pledge units maybe had those conversations with themselves. Hey, we donated last year. What does that mean for our family? Can we do a little bit more? And when you can do a little bit more, that means that's, you know, some families that are having a more difficult time and can't do as much, it all evens out. And that's what makes this church special too, is like we support each other in moments of abundance and also in moments where we need to kind of like pull it in a little bit. So everybody contributing really helps us all be able to do the best that we can do for the church. So I want to thank you. Make sure that you visit and go pick up your pledge sheet on the way out. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And I love how you captured that participation is one of those giving multipliers we talked about last week, that the more you put in, the more you get out, and then you want to put more in. And so it's this cycle of just becoming more and more invested in a congregation. Thank you. And that leads beautifully into our new member ceremony, because for centuries, people have gathered seeking purpose and depth beyond what we can find alone. Religious communities formalize this gathering when we cast our lots with one another, forming deep bonds united in purpose. People join a Unitarian Universalist congregation for many reasons. Some are drawn to our commitment to what is noblest in human life. Some seek a refuge from fear and superstition, or a place that welcomes all, regardless of theology, race, gender, how we worship, or who we love. Others come because we strive for the right balance of freedom, reason, and respect, and faith, and hope, and love. And for many, it's a place where children learn that religion is about joy and comfort and gratitude, and where we relearn that religion can be about joy and comfort and gratitude. At its heart, church is about relationships, the deep and often vulnerable commitment to one another. And it's through these relationships that we practice grace and goodness and generosity of spirit. And in this spirit and with great joy, we welcome our new members today. I'd like to invite Ellen Burge, Chair of the Membership and Welcome Committee, to assist me with our new member ceremony.
As I call your name, I invite you to come forward and stand up front if you feel comfortable doing so. And please bring the insert from your order of service. Daniel Eldred. And Kathleen Doby, our birthday lady today. Happy birthday. I invite the congregation to welcome our new members by reading together the words printed in your order of service and displayed on the screen. We, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Indianapolis, welcome you as new members to our congregation. We encourage you to join in our shared journey of transformation. We will endeavor to be guided by the spirit of love in all our words and actions. We include you now as we continue to support the programs and ideals that bind us together in spirit and community. And now our new members respond.
We freely join with you in the search for truth and meaning. We will seek to be guided by love in all our words and actions. We will strive to live out the values of Unitarian Universalism in our lives and willingly join your efforts to serve celebrate meaning in our lives.
Through the spirit of love, the power of community, and the values of Unitarian Universalism, we bless these new members of UUI and welcome you among us. We'll give you a flower as a promise of the beauty and growth possible in our future relationship. Let us welcome our new members with a round of applause.
It's always nice to have new family. Every month, UUI gives half of the Sunday collection to a cause chosen by our Social Justice Committee. This March, the Share the Plate offering will go to Exodus Refugee Immigration, Inc. Founded in 1981, Exodus has a long history of welcoming refugees and asylees from many countries, cultures, languages, faiths, and political opinions. Since they were founded, Exodus has helped thousands of refugees establish their lives in Indiana. In 2024, they welcomed 884 new refugees, representing 18 different countries, while providing ongoing services for refugees who had already called Indiana home. You can give on your smartphone by texting the dollar amount you want to give and the word share to the phone number, which is in the chat and in your bulletin. You can also give on your website at our website at uui.org. Here in the sanctuary, ushers will come around to collect donations. There is a misprint in the order of service. Indianapolis's own Freddie Hubbard composed the offertory music. We want to give him grace. The offertory will now be gratefully received. May it be joyfully given. Thank you so much for your generosity. Our closing words today are from Michelle Collins. Changes abound around us, within us, between us, in our communities, our neighborhoods, and our beloved faith communities. Changes abound. May we each find the balance point we need as we move through the ever-changing world. The balance between the old and the new, between the known and the unknown, between the familiar and the perhaps bold and risky possibilities that may be there waiting.
Please rise in body or in spirit as we join together in singing hymn number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
Please join me in our chalice extinguishing words on the screen and printed in your order of service. Now we extinguish the flame of our chalice, but not the light of understanding, the warmth of compassion, or the fire of commitment. Let us keep those with us until we meet again. Go in peace.